Now we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the offline data mode. The bottom right curl page gives you access to the settings. And when you go into the settings on the top left, you'll see the offline data manager. Now the offline data manager allows the user to set some preferences on their device so that they can store data on the device that can be retrieved when they're out in the field with no internet connection or spotty internet connectivity. So right now I have 46.3 megabytes used on my device related to the R7 app. I can allocate space by sliding this back and forth. And I can say, for example, I want 2 gigabytes open for R7. So any images or product photos that I load, I don't want to exceed 2 gigabytes of data storage. When I do hit 2 gigabytes of R7 usage, as a user, I will just get an alert telling me that I have exceeded the open space for R7. The data will continue to store on my device, and because I have 4 gigabytes of free space, I technically could consume all of the data on my device with R7. But what I'm doing here with my slider is saying, when I get up to a certain point, tell me I've gotten there so that I can clear some data out. When I want to clear data out, I can clear images within the cache, product photos for example. I can also select the fields underneath these growers, and I can delete those fields, clear them from the cache. So what I'm seeing here is grower 1's field 1 under Broken Bow Farm, and take note of the size. Now we're going to close out of the data manager, and we're going to go back to that field, and taking a look at a few more maps, we'll see how that size of that field starts to increase. So now I'm taking a look at all these maps and I'm loading them, and they're getting cached to the device. And if I go back to the data manager and look at those settings, I can see that the size of that field has increased. Not very much though. So it's important to note that from the testing that we did, we don't think users will ever hit the capacity of the data storage on the device. If we do rough estimates here, we can assume that maybe if we load all images, in-season, yield, and variability maps, yield potential maps, that we might hit 10 to 15 megabytes per field with all of those images loaded. So that, on a rough estimate on the high end, we say maybe 100 fields would fill up about a gig of space on the device. The other thing to note is when you are looking at this data manager, this is telling me that I've cached some data to the device for grower 1, farm, Broken Bow, and field 1. But it does not tell me what data I've cached. It just tells me by the size that I've cached, a small amount of data. So if I go back, the only thing that can ensure that I will have the data that I need is if I look at every field that I think I need to access to when I'm in the field, and I tap and load all of those maps. So I need to just go into the archive map list, tap on each map, and that map will be loaded and stored to the device. So it does create a little bit of work in prep to get things ready for the field. One other thing to note is that the top 10 analysis is not available in the field if you do not have internet connectivity. The top 10 analysis tries to reach out to a server to do the data analysis, and if it can't hit the server without internet connectivity, then you won't be able to do that analysis. The other thing to note is that you can't create fields if you don't have internet connectivity, because that field can't be saved to the server and the images can't be pulled down from the server. So this is definitely a viewer for the user in the field that they can use with their grower if they have their images loaded.